on to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Francis. Thank you very much, Judy. Appreciate it. And Jim, welcome. Jim Ryan is the Vice President of SCORE International, and pretty excited about this. And I don't know where you sit right now here after Thanksgiving, if you feel pretty relieved after just having a big event this month, or the anticipation of 2022 getting underway.
No, it's always a very exciting time for us every year in November. This year we added SEMA to the mix just to make sure things are extra crazy. But we were invited to SEMA to represent the off-road motorsports and high performance area, big display area, which we had 30 plus vehicles there, including Big Oli and Ivan Stewart's Toyota, and live streaming going on. So that was our lead up while our operations team was in Baja, getting ready for a very special year. On top of that, being a peninsula run, which only occurs every 3 to 4 years. So it was an extra busy time for sure. And that those few days before Thanksgiving every year is we really look forward to that.
I can imagine. Well, tell us how your 2021 season went, first of all. And I know adding SEMA, I'm sure, was quite a bit, but I'm sure pretty rewarding as well. But how did the whole season go for you guys?
The season was great. We started, 2020, obviously had some challenges with COVID for us, obviously working in another country on top of that. So it always compounds our challenges. But we were able to pull off the Baja 500. Actually, the Baja 500 in 2020, we moved from June to September. And just as we were literally the first event to take place on the peninsula. So we had really well planned out structure. Our Ensenada team, which is our race director and president, Jose Hiralba, and our general manager, Juan Tintos, did an amazing job working with the government and getting all the COVID protocols in order, and we passed the flying colors to make sure that the Baja 1000 would actually take place in 2020, which again did take place. So for 2021, we've actually had 6 races under COVID protocols. So we had all 4 races back this year. San Felipe in April, our traditional Baja 500 in June, our newer event, the SCORE Baja 400 in Ensenada in September. And then again, we just completed our 54th running of the Baja 1000. So it's got all our races have quite a legacy, and our global events.
That's pretty impressive. And you talk about dealing with different governments and all of that. That's one thing to put on an event, but also getting competitors to the event and different things like that. I mean, it's not like this is just everyone's coming from, the lower 48. I mean, there's people coming from everywhere to do this.
It is. We actually had, from a representation standpoint, I'm checking my notes here real fast, that we actually issued 322 media credentials for the Baja 1000 alone, and that came from over 16 countries from just a media perspective. And the credentials from the racers we pulled from 35 states and 18 countries. That were actually participating in the Baja 1000 a couple of weeks ago.
Wow, that's impressive. And you had over 300 entries for the event. All of the stuff that you guys did is a huge undertaking in and of itself. How different is it? Because, a lot of what we were talking about, even just in our last segment with short track racing, we're talking about, sticking people into a pit area and into grandstands and, running around in circles. Obviously, that's quite different from what you guys do, especially when it comes to a spectator perspective, but just having something that's literally moving and all of that. So kind of give us an idea of some of those challenges and just the different things you have to face, and especially even when it comes to today's world with the COVID protocols.
Correct. And what we've been able to adjust to, the first thing is basically our traditional, what looks like Mardi Gras on our contingency days, that the fans are still not allowed back involved with that. We're kind of isolated out. We've been working off a freeway system on the outside of Ensenada and a closed private resort for our San Felipe race on the Cia Cortez side, and that's been one factor in terms of not having the fans literally there, but they are there en masse up and down the peninsula. So from our responsibility, we couldn't allow that. That also impacted our award ceremony. It impacted our press conferences, our driver meetings. anything that was pertain to a crowd gathering area, our hospitality areas that overlook the start finish line, those were all, we haven't been able to do those for almost 2 years now. So
Oh, wow.
our main job is to get the race produced. The border crossings are all part of that. Again, our Ensenada office works 24 hours a day with the government, whether it's Mexico City or the governors of the two states in Baja, the mayors, the police departments, whatever. Those guys are tourism bureaus, the hotel associations, restaurant associations. When we come in, as we've said earlier, and maybe I said this last year, we don't come to a facility and hit the light switch. We have to bring everything, and we don't really shut down a city, we enhance it. The hotels, the restaurants, any Airbnbs, campgrounds, they're full no matter where we are. So we're a good partner with the Baja government in terms of an economic resource for the whole peninsula also.
Yeah, and I can imagine, and especially, wanting to get travel and wanting to get people out and about doing things right now, especially for resort areas and different places like that, is huge. Well, give us an idea of what you guys are working on, Jim. I mean, the next big event, correct me if I'm wrong, is end of March, beginning of April 2022. So what are some things that you guys are working on? Maybe, I don't know if it's new initiatives, whatever it might be.
Sure. Well, yeah, we're excited to start the next season. Hopefully we're behind, all this is behind us, and we are able to open up and have some of our normal racing areas, which again, the opening round is San Felipe. We'll be working on the 35th annual San Felipe 250 race starting at the beginning of April next year. We hope to be back downtown at the Malecon area on the ocean. Time will tell if that's allowed. Either way, we're set up there. We know how to run races in that area out of our secondary area. But I think the class situation, the technology situation, our media situation in terms of live streaming, those are all growing consistently. What we saw in the 2021 season was the big arrival of the all-wheel drive trophy trucks en masse. And they won 3 out of the 4 races overall, including the Baja 1000 with the new Mason Motorsports, Luke McMillan and Rob McEachran, number 11 truck, just won that overall with that new system. They're now bulletproof for the most part. Other things can break or crash, but the systems are now holding together, and they're definitely, there's a lot of those in the pipeline right now, and we'll see more and more of those next year, and at least in the trophy truck, our marquee category.
You mentioned streaming. We actually have a question from the chat, which is perfect,
Sure.
Jim. Someone asked about how fans can follow an event like the Baja 1000 on their phone, laptop, or whatever. And I know you've got Score TV and various things out there, but kind of give us an idea of how we can follow it, because it is very fascinating.
Yeah, and that's been one of our biggest challenges, operating where we do and in the scope. The Baja 1000, for instance, was a 1,226 mile race. Which goes from major metropolitan areas to nowhere, and trying to keep that coverage has always been our challenge. Technology, we've been chasing it forever. The owner of the series is invested many times at different levels, trying to think we got it solved, and it's always something. And I'm really happy to say that the feed actually held together. From Ensenada to La Paz and in between, at least the areas that we were posted. We finally have the latest level of technology has allowed us to actually complete that, which is the first time. So we're happy about that. But to answer your question, yes, live streaming is definitely the primary area that we'll be developing really fast again for 2022, now that we sorted out some other issues in 2021. We have live tracking. Our social media is active for the 2-week run up, if not more, on the races, during the races, and post race. The outside media is doing the same. We have one of the main areas that we switched up probably 8-9 years ago was taking everything internal. We don't dissuade any outside media from covering us, but we control our own destiny and control the messaging and our promoting our teams and our sponsors and the products and the lifestyle and everything that also goes with it. We have our own systems operating 24 hours a day that become a major media house within not only off-road, but automotive industry in general. So we can control that. And that happens 24 hours a day. So whoever's trying to follow us, we have a digital magazine that comes out once a month that has now up to about 2 million viewers a month on it. It's all video integrated too, but that's the day by day, month to month type of situation. Obviously our social media is going 24 hours a day on those instantaneous messaging. And when we get into the race windows, the live streaming comes about on our contingency days. Again, are still like Mardi Gras without the fans. We still had 300 teams with all their team members and the VIPs and industry people that were there. So it's still a fairly packed house, as much as it could be. But those are live for the entire duration of both contingency days, which are 9 to 5, 9 to 6. And then our live streaming is consistently on from when the trucks take off. In this case, it was 10 o'clock in the morning on Thursday until we shut down. And boy, I can't even remember when we shut down. I think it was 2 a.m. on Saturday afternoon. It was when the ramp actually shut down. But that's and the motorcycles take off. In this case, they took off at 2 a.m. Our live streaming is up and running at that point too, because we do get a big for the moto categories and quad categories. We still get an international viewing audience on that too. So it's there. And again, the tracking, all this can be found on the Score app, which you can download. That has become quite a tool for all of us when we're on site. We live on our phones looking at the app, so we can get live streaming and tracking information and check our social media. All that's embedded in our app. So I highly recommend that. That's probably the easiest way to get a full menu of everything that's happening during the race.
Yeah, well, the way you guys have really taken advantage of technology and just a lot of things that are available now really enhances the coverage in a big way. And I would also, advocate for the YouTube page also, because there's just all kinds of little things there from, and they're nice. I mean, some of it is 9 hours worth of something, or maybe 1 minute worth of something, talking about safety or doing different things like that. So it's pretty amazing how complete everything is when it comes to that, Jim.
And that's a brand new a program that just came to fruition this year. Score Off-Road Television. It's our own channel, and right now we have over 100 programs already been digitized. That was the process, was securing all this old footage, and then the last year or two getting it all digitized to be presentable on this station that was just kind of quietly launched a few months ago. We want to make sure it gets sorted out. But all of that's up and running right now too. And again, we have 100 shows already up, to go all the way back to ABC Wide World of Sports in '67, all the way up to the movies that were produced, Dust to Glory, and then the sequel that we put out in 2017 for the 50th anniversary of the Baja 1000, and everything in between. So yeah, it's another place for people to go visit at their leisure, to watch in the luxury of their home. Through the YouTube channel and through the Score television app.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. All right, another question here, and Don Taylor, thank you, because he's obviously fascinated as well.
Hi, Don.
But similarities between Baja races and Dakar, crossover of drivers, teams, manufacturers. How does that work? What's the comparison?
We're different, and they come. We've had a number of their champions racing with us. I think the main difference is we don't stop. It goes and goes and goes. You fix what has to be done on the fly. You're on the clock. We don't have stages, so it could be a real difficult stage and a more technical stage on their end. It's what they do is amazing, and it's lengthy. Ours is just I think they said it's 24-hour, 48-hour. In this case, 53 hours was the time frame to finish on the Baja 1000. But it's it's whatever you want to call it, from a train wreck to chasing an airplane crash or whatever. It's the challenges that are presented that you have to fix on the fly, and the logistics that are happening with the communications overall, and then the logistics on how do you keep ahead of your team? How are you figuring this out? That is probably the most difficult part, the most challenging part, and eventually the most rewarding part, when all those pieces come together on just how do you get through life for 2 days out on your own, trying to basically get to the finish line.
Do you guys in any way sort of help feed off of each other a little bit? And maybe it's Dakar, the Africa Eco Challenge, or something like that. Like if they're having their event, do you notice any increased traffic with what you're doing, or any increased interest? I mean,
Yeah, I think there's always a sidebar to that, depending on, especially when we have Americans down there racing in Dakar, which they did a fantastic job last year. Casey Curry and Ricky Bravac and a few others that were down there all did a great job. So yeah, there's residual effect on off-road motorsports in general. Again, that's kind of our other goal, is to promote off-road motorsports as much as score being a focus. But yeah, that's we've had their champions over in this well, yeah, from a Dakar standpoint, Toby Price, who's been on their moto and champion for many times. He was actually in our race. He's come twice now. First time he raced a trophy truck, and this time he was with a TT spec in this most recent Baja 1000. So there is a certain crossover of athletes for sure, to get that experience, and they're actually two different things in terms of what works in their field and what works in our field. So it's always interesting to see what's happening.
you know, if you look up, say, the results from an event like the Baja 1000, there's literally like 3 pages of results with all kinds of different classes, different types of vehicles, and again, from the trucks to the UTVs to the motorcycles and all of that.
Right.
The question is, you know, the cost to get involved. I mean, is this something, if someone is looking for maybe a different outlet with their racing or whatever they might want to do, how affordable can this be? And I'm sure, you know, there's really no ceiling to how much it could also cost you as well, depending on how far you want to go.
Yeah, those are always great questions. And the fact is, we literally have, over the last 54 years, we literally have 50 classes on the books. So that doesn't mean they're all active at any particular race, but there's a place to fit in, from stock vehicles that just need obviously the safety aspects up to speed on, to the spaceships that are trophy trucks nowadays. So it's there's depending on the price range, we're always evolving classes. Some of the bigger classes right now, TT spec was an evolution out of trophy trucks to keep it affordable, with the sealed engine packages, playing at 600 horsepower and not 900 to now 1,000 horsepower on the all-wheel drives. Usable horsepower in our world. Class 10, same thing, just a more usable buggy, which is a big driver class, but it's pulled away from our class 1 unlimited buggies. So there's different ways to go through to race score. There's literally, it's unlimited. It just depends on your interest and level. There's bone stock UTV classes. We now have 5-6 classes of UTVs, based on where they've evolved since the very first class. We just introduced a new Open Pro class at the Baja 1000 for the new generation of over 1,000 cc UTVs, which the new Polaris Open Pro are, just debuted as in stock version. So there was another model launch program going on at this race for that. But yeah, and the motorcycles, it's pick a class and you can do it. You know, we have it broken out by age brackets and by talent levels. So I think that's point one. But I think your panel before that made a good point. I mean, that's part of the cost. It's the logistics end of it. You know, how many tires, how much gas, how many rooms. A lot of the top trophy truck teams that just ran had 140 volunteers that were part of their crews to make a peninsula run. So there's a massive logistical effort on that, in terms of rooming and food, and, you know, however it is. Chase trucks, how many do you need going up and down the peninsula? It's really amazing what the teams pull off. and obviously our score operations team is truly amazing.
You know, it has to be. I mean, it is incredible. It's interesting too, because a lot of times when we start talking about racing on here, you know, we're talking about different series that might be running, you know, weekly events, maybe multiple times weekly. Obviously, your schedule, as it is, just logistically, you're, you know, limited to the number of events you can have. But throughout the year, when it comes to vendors and suppliers and manufacturers, I mean, we've had people on here that make brake duct fans that they're using in a NASCAR Cup car, but they're also using on off-road trucks. So I guess the ultimate question is like, how tapped or untapped is the off-road market, and everything that you guys are doing with SCORE for, whether they be vendors, suppliers, manufacturers, or whatever, to now find, here's a new outlet where we can showcase our products, where we can get into.
That's a great segue. So yeah, that's one of the reasons where the PRI in general, that is one of our discovery shows. They know about SCORE. They certainly know or heard about the Baja 1000 and Baja 500. And they're totally fascinated with what's going on there. They know they have products being sold there, but it's just a matter of how much education they have. And that's one of the things we've been providing, stepped up a lot of that market information, that database, and the surveys and all of the information on market reach and impact. We now have that. That's been around for, in terms of SCORE, for 8 years. We've had pretty complete packages that the teams get to take to their sponsor bases to educate them. But yeah, it's literally anything in racing, from literally anything in racing is applicable to what is probably being used in our field right now in some way, shape, or form. From what we've been told and what we see, it's just a matter of getting the feedback back through and that's what PRI is for us. We're able to talk to the manufacturers and kind of enlighten them as to what's happening in this field, or they pull us out of the aisle because they want to talk to us and get more information on what's happening.
And realistically, I mean, the true trickle down to, you know, from pro to amateur to someone who wants to go out and have fun on weekends. I mean, you talk about something that's so connected with what any type of vendor or supplier, you know, how they could utilize SCORE and everything you do to actually enhance what they're doing and the products they're trying to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of our trademarks is Baja Proven. And our series and our type of racing has been that product development area since 1967, especially for off-road purposes, but for any endurance type of product line. That recognition from a marketing perspective goes through the general public. It's not a closed, information source. Something to survive Baja gets global attention, and it's the ability for manufacturers and their teams to prove their products' durability, they're being sponsors in our series, or showing up and just being used with the teams in those type of packages.
That's fascinating. I do want to ask, and this one is on the chat as well, plans for electric vehicle racing. When are we going to start to see those classes? Big question.
And it's not new with us. We've had an E-class for a number of years, and it has been run by a number of participants. Basically, we're kind of, again, product development. We're like that last bastion. If you can last through one of our races, especially the Baja 1000, then the technology has arrived. But it hasn't got there yet. So there's been a lot of efforts and a lot of learning curves for those who did participate, but it's coming. And we had some good meetings at SEMA recently with some of those, and some previous conversations with some of the systems development people and OEs in general on what's happening. And there's something that they want to tackle. We will see a lot of activity in 2022 on that. I'll just leave it at that. And so let them make some announcements, but it's coming, and we're looking forward to it, to see what this latest efforts that we're learning about are pretty high end, and basically with technology, the blend of electric vehicle technology and the racing technology, those two really haven't been put together for our type of racing, but we see it on the horizon now.
Wow, that would be great. Yeah, especially with some of the, whether it be new manufacturers coming in, to the EV market like Rivian, right, or things with trucks, to what Ford is doing, and even on the motorcycle end of things, that would be amazing.
UTVs also.
Yeah, it's a whole fascinating market. Well, we can't wait for the 2022 season. I don't know how much of a breath you get to take because I live in a world where you make your season in the off season, and
Right.
I'm sure you do as well. So, wish you the best of luck there. Is there anything else that SCORE has going on that maybe we didn't touch on?
Well, that's probably not enough time for that, but yes, things are very busy, and we're really happy about this year. And we're looking forward to 2022 to get back to really get back to normal. And we're pretty set in advance. We picked up a couple brand new high-end sponsorships, so that whole activity, we're operating at the highest level we've ever operated with those type of packages right now. So we're in good shape, and the category's in good shape, but we're still learning and growing every day.
Wow. Well, Jim, I look forward to the next time we get to do this, and really look forward to seeing y'all season get started. But thank you so much.
No, thank you, Brad.
Thank you very much, Jim, for being with us.
The concept for EPARTRADE is basically, in my opinion, there's a big hole in the internet. So the internet started many years ago, but there's never been an online business community for racers on the World Wide Web. The need for EPARTRADE is actually quite obvious. Basically, people in the business of auto racing need a place online to hang out and to get their problems solved.
It's extremely simple for a buyer or for a supplier to interact on the platform. The first thing you need to do is sign in, which is free. And the second thing is, when you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information. If it's a company, you click on request more information, and then from there, it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
You can go to epartrade.com, you become part of a community of businesses in racing, and it makes sourcing products much easier than just on the internet or using Google.
At EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier through an email.
More than that, it's a place to go just to keep current every day. So it's a good place to start your workday in your racing business or in your offices of your professional race team. And you know you're current when it comes to new technology, industry news, technical papers, technical videos, all of that and more. We're not looking for a million hits per day. All we want is people who are really the volume buyers of racing products in the racing industry to be part of the little world of EPARTRADE. We have racing businesses participating from around the world. So you get suppliers from around the world, you get buyers from around the world.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
There are two types of people, racers and everyone else. Racer Magazine is for those who believe that racing is a way of life. Racer embodies the excellence that defines a sport driven by passion, courage, and ingenuity. Get 1 year of both Racer's print and digital edition for only $39 with instant access to our entire digital issue archive. Subscribe now at info.racer.com.